60% of Denver home sellers are having to give a buyer some sort of concession to close the deal, like seller paid closing costs or an interest rate buy down, and the average amount that seller is giving in this market, $10,000. It's a meaningful chunk of change to a home buyer, but it might not always be necessary if you go on the market with a real strategy to protect your equity. In this video, I'll walk you through the 6 mistakes costing Denver home sellers thousands right now. I'm Ryan Haarer, Denver area real estate agent, and after guiding sellers through this exact market, I'll show you the fix for each one. Mistake number 1, overpricing your home. Overpricing your home is one of the biggest mistakes I'm seeing home sellers make right now. Don't get me wrong, I want you to make the most amount of money when you sell too. But pricing too high can quickly backfire in a market like the one we're in now. 2 homes can look almost the same and still end up in totally different spots in terms of the number they close for. Let's start with the home that sells fast and for a higher price. All the similar recent sales in the neighborhood were selling for, let's say, $700,000. So the seller, knowing they're very similar to the others, lists at $700,000. Within a few weeks, they have an offer right around that price, and maybe if they get some of the other items in this video right, they get multiple offers and therefore a higher sales price. Now let's talk about home number 2. This seller, recognizing the market is slower than it's been in recent years and knowing buyers might try and get the home for less, lists the home at $765,000 to give themselves a buffer, roughly 8% higher than recent sales in the neighborhood. I see this all the time. What happens? Buyers refuse to even see the home. Buyers today have access to lots of information. They can smell an overpriced listing from a mile away, so they decide to not even bother seeing the home. There's just too much negotiating that has to happen in their eyes. So what happens? The home lingers on the market. The first 2 to 3 weeks are crucial in most zip codes to getting your home sold. It's when you have the most online activity, the most interest around a new listing, and after that it becomes stale. Easy to scroll by. 30 days on market turns to 60, and then you're having to do a 10% price cut to get everyone's attention again. And all of a sudden, you're priced below the comparable sales with the stigma of a home that's been on the market for longer than necessary. Buyers may now come to see the home that you've done that price cut, but knowing you've struggled to sell, they may take advantage and try to get a $10,000 to $15,000 concession on top of your fresh price cut. I do enough deals in this market to know some version of this is happening every single day. One home sells fast for a strong price, the other sits and then sells for less. And the difference is often the price they started at. I cannot stress this enough. The first couple of weeks are everything. For those serious buyers out there ready to make a move, you have a brief opportunity to be the new shiny home on the block. That early window is when your most serious buyers show up, and it's when a well-priced home can still pull multiple offers even in the current market. I've seen it many times this year. But stay with me because I'll show you how the way you market that early window can make or break the whole thing. But this is the foundation, so let's move on for now. Think about how negotiations might vary between home 1 and home 2. The goal is to put yourself in a position where there's little wiggle room. Being able to confidently say to potential buyers that you've got lots of interest in the early days, so if they like it, they should act. That's powerful. Buyers feel urgency to snag this great home and deal before the next buyer comes along. If you price it too high, buyers right now will just wait you out. That's a strategy my buyers used just last week. We saw a home they really liked. We waited for them to lower the price, then swooped in under market value. Pricing too high also makes other sellers see an opportunity to list just below you and look like the more attractive option. So the goal, list at a number that won't leave any money on the table, but don't overprice and derail your entire plan to maximize your equity. Mistake number 2, not preparing the home. During the low interest rate years, you could get away with not making any repairs, slapping your home up on the internet and getting an offer or 2. It was a bad strategy even then because preparing your home properly for sale can help you net more money in any market. But now, if you do this, there's a good chance you never sell the property at all. Now, preparing a home for sale can look very different neighborhood to neighborhood and of course in different price points, but generally speaking, you want to put yourself in the buyer's shoes. Ask yourself, at the price I'm going to be asking, will a buyer be satisfied with the condition of the home? Are they going to be excited to write a full-priced offer on my home? I break down these preparations into 3 levels: major systems, handyman fixes, and cosmetic upgrades. Start with major systems. Most home buyers don't want to purchase a home they immediately need to put a ton of work or money into. The big ticket items like furnace, a water heater, roof, foundation, sewer lines, those should all be in good working condition. And you get bonus points if you've upgraded them or replaced them in recent years. If you haven't, that's okay. Just make sure they're working without issue. Before you go on the market, that's the time to get specialists out there to give these items a clean bill of health. And if they need replacement, you're probably better off doing that before going on market and using it to your advantage when marketing the home. Being able to say this home has a brand new roof, a brand new furnace, that's peace of mind for a home buyer. And if you're not going to replace an expensive system, then you'd better price the home accordingly and expect buyers to be having second thoughts at the very least about taking on the home with a big expense on day one. Point is, you will sell faster and for more money with that peace of mind you're providing a home buyer. Next are the handyman fixes. These are items that you've been putting off that may not be causing you much distress, but you know need attention. Things like loose door handles, leaky faucets, stuck doors, burnt out light bulbs, outdated smoke alarms. If a buyer might perceive it as broken, fix it. The goal here is to limit the friction between a buyer touring a home and writing an offer. All of these little items can add up in a buyer's head. Show them you've taken good care of the home. And finally, cosmetic upgrades. Now, we could probably do an entire video on what is and is not worth it. The truth is, it depends on the market, your neighborhood, and what you're trying to sell the home for, of course. But generally speaking, you will not get every dollar back of a $50,000 kitchen remodel or a $100,000 basement finish. So long as these spaces are still functional, it's unlikely I'd recommend going for major work. It's hard to get that money back a week after doing it. What I do often recommend, replacing carpet. This is a huge one, especially if you have pets or kids. It goes a long way for the price. Paint is another. I recently suggested a client paint their entire exterior, which was a fading green color, and their entire interior, which were several shades of beige, and the home was immediately transformed and sold very quickly. It's amazing at how far paint goes. I also often recommend fixture swaps. Older builder grade light fixtures or faucets and handles can be swapped out for inexpensive and more modern options while still matching the feel of the home. You don't want to break the bank prepping a home for sale, but on the big ticket items, you'll pay for it one way or another, either addressing them up front, making the home more marketable, or addressing them during inspection. And on the cosmetic items, it may not be convenient to pay a handyman to go to town in your home for a few days, but boy, does it make your home look more attractive and drive showings. I see it time and time again. When buyers have choices, the condition is the currency. A move-in ready home pulls stronger offers and cleaner contracts, and skipping the prep shows up later as a big credit or a lower final price. And that word credit is right where sellers make their next costly mistake. Before that, if you're sitting on a Denver home and trying to figure out what it would sell for in today's market, I work with sellers across the metro on pricing, preparation, and a plan to get top dollar. My contact info is in the description, so please feel free to reach out. I'd be happy to talk to you about your home's value. All right, back to the video. Mistake number 3, refusing to negotiate. Remember what I said at the beginning of this video, that 60% of home sellers are paying a concession on average of $10,000? Sometimes in this market, that concession is necessary. When interest rates are at 6 to 7%, home buyers getting a mortgage are looking at a higher payment than they were just a couple of years ago. For example, on an $800,000 home, with 20% down at today's rates after taxes and insurance, could have close to a $5,000 a month mortgage payment. Some buyers are dealing with these higher costs by getting a seller-paid rate buydown, temporarily lowering their interest rate to relieve those mortgage payments for a couple of years until they can theoretically, hypothetically, hopefully refinance. Other buyers are asking sellers to pay their closing costs so that they can instead spend that cash on moving or making minor upgrades when they move in. This money can be the difference between a buyer liking the deal or feeling sour over it. And hold on to that payment gap, because when we get to staging later, you'll see it's the same feeling that decides whether a buyer falls for a home or walks away. Simply put, the concessions can often be a cost of doing business in this market. My job as a real estate agent is to net you the most amount of money possible. Sometimes the highest net to a seller means working with a buyer to help them reach an agreement that will actually result in a sale. Yes, as we've discussed, the ideal scenario is pricing and preparing the home to attract multiple offers, but that's not a guarantee. So when you're pricing and looking at how much you'll net, factor this potential concession in. It's nice to know that you have a little bit of wiggle room when it comes to negotiating. Of course, you'd never tell a buyer that, but you know that you're protected if a buyer makes a reasonable offer with a concession and you don't have any other offers. Which brings me to another point. The first reasonable offer you get is often the best offer you're going to see. Even if the first offer feels a little low or there are terms you don't like, counter. Don't ever walk away from an offer without at least trying to counter. You need a real estate agent in your corner who is comfortable going to bat for you and strategically pushing for a better deal. It can be done. Now, of course, if there's an offer on the table that is just so unreasonable and you just can't fathom letting the home go for that price, then hang on, especially if it's early in the process. If you find yourself getting lowball offers after a few months on the market, you might consider pulling the home off the market and repositioning, take a month off, reset the days on market, make some adjustments in the home based on the feedback. Whatever you do, try to keep emotions out of it. I know that sounds crazy. After all, this is your home, potentially your largest asset. And here's someone telling you they think it's worth way less than what you think it's worth. But if you stay calm, cool, and collected, we can respond with clear minds and work thoughtfully towards solutions. Of course, none of that even starts if buyers never find your listing. Mistake number 4, weak marketing. Residential real estate marketing used to be pretty simple. Stick a sign in the yard, snap some photos, slap them up on the internet. In today's digital world, this is about as basic as it gets. As you were probably gathering, I spent a lot of time thinking about how a buyer will perceive a home. It starts with a buyer profile. Who is the likely buyer of this home? And what is it that they're looking for when they are rapidly scrolling home search websites? Should our marketing focus on the expansive lot for that Coloradan who wants horses and views? Then the home itself is almost secondary. Is it a luxury buyer who loves to entertain? Then the key points regarding the designer and architect might be most appealing. First-time home buyer, we better market the heck of how buttoned up the home is, worry-free, not a money pit, perfect to grow into. Some agents still treat marketing like a checklist. Snap the pictures, put it on the MLS, done. But buyers now scroll through more homes and more content than ever before they ever set foot inside the home. So if your listing doesn't stand out, it just blends into the feed and disappears. Stronger marketing feels different. It's the listing that shows up in more places, that has a little story to it, that feels put together instead of thrown online. We're trying to help a buyer see themselves making the property their permanent home. That's a tall order. And because of how we consume media these days, we have to hit them from all angles, which is why every one of my listings not only gets professional photography, of course, but also video tours, 3D tours, floor plans, mailers, professionally designed brochures for showings, digital advertisements, customized home websites, open houses. That's the basic marketing package of an agent who is actually getting homes sold for top dollar. The listing write-ups helps a buyer picture their life there, the weekend walks, the parks nearby, the coffee spots around the corner. Instead of just listing features, a home sale is as much about the surrounding community as it is about the home. That's what gets a buyer's attention and pushes a buyer to go see the home in person. More eyes leads to more showings, and more showings leads to better offers. So the win is picking an agent who runs the whole marketing machine, and that gap shows up right in your final price. But getting buyers through the door is only half of it. What happens in the first 10 seconds after that buyer steps inside decides everything. Mistake number 5, skipping staging. Okay, let's do the 2 separate home scenarios again. Let's say the 2 homes are identical, except one home is staged with nice furniture, decor, art on the walls, carefully folded towels in the bathrooms, all positioned to help a buyer feel like they are in a model home. It's an experience. The second home is completely empty, an empty box, leaving how the home should be lived in up to the often confused mind of a home buyer seeing the property for the first time. You get the picture. Where does the couch go? Does the dining table even fit? How do these rooms connect? I wish I brought a measuring tape. The questions pile up and the energy drains right out of the showing. Buyers are quickly left feeling like something is missing, and frankly, these empty homes can fall to the bottom of the pile when compared to a showing in which the home felt like home. I show lots of houses. I help both home sellers and home buyers, so I know that within about 10 seconds of walking through the threshold of the front door, I can tell if a buyer is connecting with the home. It's that gut feeling that a buyer has. And by the way, it goes beyond staging. I like to tell my home sellers that every single showing should be light, bright, and smelling right. I know, a little cheesy, but it's important. All the lights should be on in the home. The furniture and decor should not feel overwhelming or take away from the star of the show, the home itself. And please make sure the home doesn't smell. It is such a vibe killer. Trash that hasn't been taken out, pet smells, even overbearing candles or air fresheners can really harshen the mood. Now, what if you're not fully moved out of the home? No problem at all. We can always work with what you have. If you're a very design-conscious person and have excellent decor and that model home style already, we may not need to change a thing, but I'd say most people can benefit from doing a few things. Pack away all personal effects, family photos, sports posters, anything political, store it away. We want buyers to see themselves in the home, not you. Clutter is a killer. Miscellaneous appliances, spices on the kitchen counter, store it away. Bookshelves, jammed with old paperwork and knickknacks, pack it away. All we really want to see is your furniture and some neutral home decor, which we can add for cheap if you don't have that. Bedspreads and pillows can really change the feeling of a photo. It just irks me when I see a poorly made bed in a real estate listing photo. Did you know that home stagers often use 2 comforters inside of a duvet to make it look full and fluffy? Also, light, neutral colors on bedspreads can go a long way. Those are the basics of home staging. Obviously, there's more to it, and I work with some of the best professional stagers in the market who can give you more details, so just reach out if you're curious about how we'd prepare your home for photos. Let's move on to the final mistake. Sellers give timing more power than it really has, and that's the actual mistake. Denver still runs on 2 real windows, spring through early summer, and fall up to around Thanksgiving. Those stretches bring out more buyers, more new listings, and more action. The dead of summer slows down as families travel for a month or two, and once the holidays hit Thanksgiving, the market really does go quiet until about February. But the mistake is thinking the calendar alone can save a home that's priced wrong or prepped poorly. A neglected listing will sit in the busy spring, and a well-priced, well-prepped, well-marketed home can still sell nicely in a slower month. So if you've got the flexibility, aim for one of those 2 hops in the year. And if you're listing in a quieter window, lean even harder on your price, your preparation, and your marketing so you stand out in a smaller pool. What really drives a great sale is all of it working together: timing, condition, price, marketing. Not any one piece carrying the load. The sellers who walk away with thousands more aren't the ones with the fanciest homes. They're the ones who run a plan instead of a hope, and the market takes care of them, even in a year when buyers hold the cards. If you want a straight read on what your Denver home could sell for and a plan to get top dollar, email me, Ryan@RyanHaarer.com, and I'll put together something built around your home and your timeline. And if you're already thinking about where you'll land next, I've linked my ranking of 8 Denver suburbs from cheapest to most expensive, because so many buyers lock onto a price tier and end up in the right house in the wrong neighborhood. I'm Ryan Haarer, Denver area real estate agent. I will see you on the next one.